Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good day, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. CGX Resources Inc. recently disclosed to the Environmental Protection Agency that it proposes to drill the Way 1 exploration well in the northern portion of its quarantine block in the May to August 2022 period. Way 1 is pegged to cost approximately $93 million. This sum would be recoverable should CGX move to production on the heels of a commercial discovery. The site of the proposed Way 1 well is approximately 200 kilometers from Georgetown in a northeasterly direction in the Atlantic Ocean. CGX also told the EPA that the project will involve onshore facilities and marine aviation services in Guyana to support the exploration, drilling, and decommissioning activities. It was noted that CGX is in discussion with G-Port Inc. for standard offshore rig support logistics, PSV mooring, and other shore-based services in Georgetown. The company is also in discussion with Tiger Rentals Guyana for non-hazardous and hazardous waste management disposal services and PSV mud tank cleaning services at the Gisby Inc. location at Houston, Guyana. In other news, a Nigerian community had to wait almost a decade before it received compensation from ExxonMobil Corporation subsidiary for a series of oil spills that occurred between 2000 and 2010. In June of 2021, 9 years after the legal proceedings commenced, a Nigerian court ordered Nigerian National Petroleum Corp. and Mobil Producing Nigeria Unlimited, which is a subsidiary of Exxon, to pay $199.5 million in compensation to the Ibeno community of Akwa Ibom State for a series of oil spills. The lawsuit had attempted to directly include the parent company, ExxonMobil. However, the court disagreed. According to media reports, the plaintiff's contention was that ExxonMobil presides over as the parent organization of Mobil Producing Nigeria Unlimited, a Nigerian company that engages in crude oil exploration and production in Nigeria. According to the plaintiffs, it is a shell company and an appendage of ExxonMobil Corporation, and as such, ExxonMobil should bear joint liability for the tortuous claims of the plaintiffs. And moving on, making use of its $217 million budgetary allocation for the Bartica Stelling, the Ministry of Public Works is seeking contractors to continue the rehabilitation works at the Region 7 Stelling, which has been under reconstruction for some time now. In the national budget this year, the government had allocated the sum of $455 million for the continued rehabilitation of the Leg 1, Fort Island, and Bartica Stellings. The Bartica Stelling project, which has been ongoing for a few years now, is one that the PPPC administration had inherited from the APNU-AFC when it assumed office back in 2020. The contract is worth a total of $434 million. In other news, almost 3 years after the fatal stabbing of 39-year-old Farida Kayoum, a mother of 6, her husband, 52-year-old Devanand Narain, was on Tuesday sentenced to 16 years in prison, but will only spend 7 years, 2 months due to the time that was deducted from his sentence. The couple had been married for 6 years before it tragically came to an end on May 16, 2019, after Narain killed Kayoum at their Anna Regina home. Narain was charged with murder, but on February 16, 2022, he opted to plead guilty to the lesser count of manslaughter. A report from the Guyana Prison Service on Narain's behavior stated that the inmate's performance was given as very good and that he translates for the Venezuelan inmates. In other news, the Ministry of Health has replaced the head of department for the Government Analyst Food and Drug Department, as well as the Mental Health Unit. We understand that the former director of the department, Dr. Marlon Cole, was recently removed from the post, a void that has since been filled by Ms. Tandika Barton, who previously served as the Principal Analytical Scientific Officer and is a part-time lecturer at the University of Guyana. A source attached to the Ministry of Health explained that the ministry is moving to reshuffle a number of heads of departments in the coming weeks. In addition to Cole, the ministry has thus far replaced the director of the Mental Health Unit, Dr. Util Richmond Thomas, with Dr. Timothy Morgan, who has been serving as the coordinator of that unit. With the time now moving on to 12 hours 18 in Guyana, we will return with more news after the break.
Enjoy free premium access to D-Music from March 25th to 31st. Discover 60 million local and international songs. Get playlists specially made to match your flavor. You can even download your favorite songs and albums. Plus, enjoy Coffee and Shensia's new albums fresh out the studio with free 2 gigabytes of data for D-Music every day. From March 25th to 31st, listen anywhere, anytime. So, what are you waiting for? Download D-Music now.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. A doctor and a rank attached to the Ghana Defense Force who were arrested on March 21st for stealing from the Ministry of Health's bond located at Diamond have been arrested. That should have been released on station bail to facilitate further investigations. The two were detained together with Terrence Williams, an employee of the ministry who was busted with a duffel bag containing some $5 million in cash and 2 illegal guns with matching ammunition. Police had reportedly set up a sting operation after receiving a report of simple larceny committed on the bond. While in custody, Williams had attempted to bribe the investigators with all the cash in the duffel bag for his freedom, but they refused. He has since been remanded for attempting to bribe a police officer and for the illegal possession of 2 firearms with matching ammunition. In other news, Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa was recently elected to serve as Vice Chairman of the 37th session of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization Regional Conference for Latin America and the Caribbean. The conference, which is currently being held in Ecuador from March 28 to April 1st, will pave the way for member countries to define the regional priorities and to adapt and localize the FAO Strategic Framework 2022 to 2031 to the conditions of Latin America and the Caribbean. While speaking on the science and innovation strategy, Minister Mustafa maintained that there need to be more measures in place regionally to actively involve youths in agriculture. Minister Mustafa also noted that it is critical for policymakers to take urgent and immediate action to preserve the agriculture sector in the region and across the globe. And I'll just tell you, to improve the management skills of educators across Guyana, 73 teachers in the Georgetown Education District on Monday afternoon graduated from the Ministry of Education's Education Management Certificate course. The program, according to the Ministry of Education, is executed through the National Center for Educational Resources Development. It is a specialized course designed to improve teachers' leadership skills and is open to heads of departments, senior teachers, and head teachers. Delivering the feature address was Chief Education Officer Dr. Marcel Hudson, who stated that it is widely recognized that one of the key factors influencing effectiveness is the nature of leadership and management. And moving on, to ensure students are provided with the best opportunities to perform optimally at CSEC and CAPE consultations began on Tuesday with secondary school teachers across the country. Minister of Education Priya Manik Chand, along with Dr. Marcel Hudson and other education officials, met with CSEC and CAPE teachers from the 11 education districts. The objective of the engagement was to listen to the concerns and challenges faced by teachers and find solutions that will guide decisions to help students better prepare for the examinations. Minister Manik Chand said that following the results of both examinations at the 2020 sitting, many students were marked poorly for several reasons, and therefore it has been a priority of the ministry to address any gaps that may exist so that a recurrence can be prevented. And I'll just tell you, 39-year-old Lex Roy Garraway, called Bam Bam, a minor formerly of Lower Pomeroon, was on Tuesday sentenced to 14 years imprisonment for the May 22, 2019 stabbing of his friend, 24-year-old Eric Nurse. Last February 15th, Garraway opted to plead guilty to manslaughter. According to reports, Garraway and the deceased were at a shop imbibing. Garraway later left the shop and went to a room occupied by a female. Upon seeing the defendant in the room, the female raised an alarm. Nurse then went to her rescue and dragged Garraway out. Nurse tore Garraway's shirt and reportedly armed himself with a sharp object, which he used to slash Garraway to his hand. However, Nurse was then relieved of the weapon by Garraway, who then used it to repeatedly stab Nurse. And now let's tell you on Tuesday, the Ministry of Health revealed that 3 persons are in the COVID-19 ICU. Also, 4 new cases were recorded within the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 63,239. The new cases were detected in regions 3 and 4, which recorded 2 cases each. The death toll remains at 1,226. 6 persons are in institutional isolation, 16 are in institutional quarantine, and 69 are in home isolation. Additionally, 8 persons have recovered within the last 24-hour period, taking the total number of confirmed recoveries to 61,935. And we wrap things up with the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News. It is said, "Don't take the speck out of your neighbor's eye and leave the beam in your own." This is a well-known proverb and has found itself directly linked to the recent utterances of Vice President Bharat Jagdeo. Just days ago, the former head of state came under fire for making some disparaging remarks about the economy of fellow CARICOM oil producer Trinidad and Tobago. The Vice President basically said, in no uncertain terms, that the oil-dependent economy of our sister nation is falling apart. While Mr. Jagdeo's observation may not be completely without merit, one must ask, is he oblivious to the damning prospects of Guyana's oil wealth, given the lopsided contract that favors Exxon? Must he be reminded that in every other major sector, foreigners, complete with concessions galore, have been carting off huge chunks of Guyana's resources, while Guyanese struggle to hold their own? So, in that way, Mr. Vice President, are Guyanese better off than Trinidadians? And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
I'm GHK Lal on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. It's midweek, Wednesday, March 30th. We're getting ready to close March out. Welcome to the National Outlook. Professionals are among biggest tax cheats. Revenue collection for lawyers, doctors, others dwindle annually. Audit report. So we're talking about lawyers, doctors, auditors, architects, a whole slew of people. People who are not struggling, people who are not poor. And millions of dollars are being lost annually, and more so every year, when they do not take out their tax certificate, tax practice certificate. It's a necessity. Well, it's more than that. It's the law. It's part of our tax regime in this country. And when our professionals, men who are schooled in ethics, men who know what is the honorable thing to do, operate in this manner, what sort of example are they setting for us? What sort of credibility do they have for themselves when they actually get down to filing their taxes? They're lawyers. Some of them I don't know may be in Parliament. Some of them may be the ones who are telling you when you don't have a case, you have a case. When you don't have a leg to stand on, and they rip you off. The doctors who rip you off, and so on and so forth. The auditors who don't see anything. These people are living double lives, triple lives. They're saying one thing, they've obtained qualifications, good qualifications, but they are not representing the ethics of their profession when they could do something as public as this, being a tax cheat, thinking that they can get away with it and continue with it. What sort of example is that for us? What can they tell you and I? What guidance can they give me when they are this way? When they are looking for ways to game the system? When they are so shallow themselves? Until the next time, I'm GHK Lal on Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Thank you for listening to the National Outlook.